Okay, so let's stick to Tehran for a second. From what I understand, Tehran was relatively recently made the capital of Iran, and there are other capitals, of course. So when and why did it become capital? Just a short story, and then maybe mention two or three, or I don't know, one or two or three other big Iranian cities.
Sure, sure. I mean, I remember reading different things about when Tehran came to became the capital. The one that I could verify was that during Muhammad Shah Qajar, the first king of Qajar dynasty, who was the Enoch king. Sorry, not the Enoch, the unique king,
So
because
around the 1800s.
around the 1800s, yeah, he made Tehran the capital because Tehran, in many ways, it's perfect because it's within Iranian heartland, where they call Iranian proper or Persian proper, which is within the mountain range. Because Iran has one of the reasons Iran has managed to an extent to keep its continuity over the years is because it's been, the mountain range has been sort of protecting it. For example, Ottomans never came over the mountains because they knew as soon as they come they would be, destroyed. Or most people, except Alexander and Arabs. So uh, he wanted somewhere that was close to Azerbaijan, which was very crucial, especially for Qajar family that had Azerbaijani roots, and for all Iranians. So it wanted to be close to Azerbaijan and the north, because north was a major place for trade and production of silk and all that. At the same time, he wanted to be close to Persian mainland. He didn't want to choose a city that had a established nobility or a great nobility. He chose Tehran, which was a suburb of Ray, the ancient city of Ray, which is an ancient and very famous city in Iran. He chose Tehran because basically it was a place he could establish himself with little resistance. So uh, that's one story I read. But from things I've read before, to be honest, from what I recalled, it was first, or sorry, that was Safavid dynasty. I'm mixing things up. First they chose Qazvin, and then they changed it around. But Iran, according to some counts, has had the most amount of variation in its capital because it's changed a lot of hands and people chose different places. But yeah, Tehran is relatively new, 150 years or 200 years max. It's been capital, and yeah, it was chosen because of its location and because of its lack of substantial nobility or establishment. So the new king could easily establish himself there.
That's very interesting. And let me just tell you one funny thing I used to hear as a kid about Tehran and Tehran being the capital before we talk about the other cities was that, oh, they shouldn't have picked Tehran because Tehran is kind of surrounded by mountains, right? And I think
Well,
you,
on not surrounded on, yeah, on like on three sides
on three,
basically. Yeah.
yeah. So people were saying, I remember like hearing this taxi drivers and other people like, yeah, they shouldn't have picked Tehran as the capital because it doesn't allow pollution to go out because of the mountains. But I
Yeah,
think,
that's
pre-industrial age or even in the early 20th century, that would have been quite something to imagine the rise of
yeah,
cars and all this and
yeah,
factories
yeah.
and
To
think
be
about
fair
that.
to Muhammad Shah, yeah,
Yeah.
and I would say
And like
it's,
you
to be
mentioned,
honest,
Tehran was a small, even like 100 years ago. So 100 years
and but
ago, it was a small city in Iran, right?
when they chose Tehran, like the place you lived, because I know, you and all that wasn't Tehran. Like
Mm.
Tehran has grown significantly since then. It was a suburb. Shemran, which is the north of Tehran, was bigger than Tehran, I believe, and now Tehran includes Shemran and proper Tehran and all that. So Tehran has grown
Mm.
significantly, and with
Let's
the
add
issue
a
of
number to that. So like Greater Tehran is like has the population of London or something like that, right? And then
yeah,
probably
yeah,
much bigger size wise.
no, no, actually, much smaller size wise.
Smaller
I
size
checked that.
wise.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
I was very surprised. I was very surprised. I don't know why. Maybe because Tehran is on a slope or something. It has a lot of ups and downs. So
I
because
mean,
you have
London
all
is
these,
huge too. I mean,
sure,
when you
yeah.
think about it,
But
yeah.
apparently, I think it's half or one third the size of London.
Wow.
But it has the Yeah, it has about 8 million population. During the day, around 12. At night, 8. So yeah,
I'm sure
it's a
it
big.
goes even more than that during the daytime. I mean,
Yes, yeah,
I
because
would
people
imagine.
from Karaj and other
Yeah.
cities come to work there. So yeah, Tehran and so the problem with Tehran, I don't think it's location. I think it's management and it's planning really. Tehran shouldn't have become, for example, major source of pollution in Tehran besides cars, which are uh, overproduced and overused, uh, are the factories built around Tehran, near Tehran. That's a major issue. So I think, yeah, those issues should be tackled.
Okay, and yeah, and so what are some other two or three Iranian
Oh,
cities? No, let's not get into their history, just like two or
it
three
yeah, yeah, no,
contemporary
no,
cities, and just
sure,
mention their historical background briefly.
sure. Historically speaking, and in a way, the rival of Istanbul and Great Rome was Isfahan. So that's in a way is a historical capital of Iran. Isfahan is in the center of Iran. It was a city that Shah Abbas very much with intent of built it to eclipse Constantinople and Rome, and had more canals than Venice. And a very beautiful city, very historical city in terms of medieval architecture and Islamic architecture, Safavid architecture. There are great places there. uh, a major bridge built by a Georgian general, Alaverdi Khan. It's called 30. It's got 33 or 32 arches. It's a major bridge from medieval times. So Eswan is a sort of historical capital of some kind. Then you have Mashhad, which is a major city in the eastern side near Afghanistani border. It's the religious capital probably because the eighth Imam has died, and it's the I think the only Imam whose tomb is within Iran. So he's has a massive, the tomb of Imam Reza is a massive, place. It's very beautiful, golden dome and all that. It's a major. I think it attracts more tourists than Tehran because it attracts an incredible number of Shias from around the world as well as Iranians from within the country. Very, very, by the way, luxurious town these days. Hotels that are fantastic, and put to shame anything in Las Vegas, really. So you have Mashhad, which is a bit of a religious capital. You have Tabriz, which was the capital during Safavid years for a while, and it was the city of the heir to the throne. Usually, even during Qajar years, it's the most prominent of Azeri cities. It's a place that a lot of Iran's modern nationalism is rooted in circles in Tabriz, and Azeris there, Babur Khan, Sattar Khan, all of these people. And it's a Tabriz is probably it has it's the Turkish capital of Iran, let's say, or Azeri capital of Iran. It's very beautiful, very old, fantastic museums, uh, birthplace of constitutional movements, blah blah blah.
Is that
You have
somewhere where you hear more Iranian speaking, like their version of Turkish?
oh, everybody speaks Azeri there. They
Everyone
speak.
speaks other, and that's
Yeah,
like
they.
what I'm
Yeah,
referring to. That's like their version of Turk. That's what I mean.
yes, it's
Yeah.
a variant
Oh,
of
so people
Turkish.
there casually speak. I mean, even in Tehran, in like a small supermarket or other places, they might speak Azeri or what
Azeri.
I call Turkish. But there, you're saying it's much more widespread even right now.
Oh yeah, yeah. I went there a couple of years ago, and 2 years ago, I think. Yeah, everybody speaks Azeri, and they respond to you in Persian. But yeah, everybody speaks.
Mm.
That's the official. I think they're in. I don't know. I'm not sure about this, but I think the Azeri is taught in the schools and everything,
Oh wow, really? Yeah, I was gonna
as
say,
well
but
as
of
Persian.
course they learn Farsi in school. But okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
and so Tabriz is a great important city. You also have Urumiyeh is an important Azeri city, and which used to be called Paris of Iran. Very beautiful next to Urumiyeh Lake. You have
Paris of Lebanon, Paris of there.
yeah,
Anywhere
exactly,
where there's
Paris.
something, it's called Paris. No, Lebanon. Sorry,
So
Lebanon is
Lebanon
the
was Paris of Middle East, I
yeah
think, or
Paris.
something. Beirut is
Beirut.
Paris
Sorry,
of
yeah, Beirut.
Middle East, or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, and you have Uh, Another major city is Shiraz, which I mentioned before, which is very close to ancient historical sites of Iran. Shiraz is famous for its being very chilled city, for its wine, for when you walk in the city, all you see are these naranj trees. Naranj is a variant of it's a type of uh, I don't know. It's what you say. It's a fruit very similar
It's a
to
type of
uh,
orange that is the one that you consume with fish during the Iranian New Year other times, right?
yeah, yeah,
So it's something
yeah.
between an orange and like a lemon.
Lemon. It's
Yeah.
more lemony, I would say, but it's very, very sour. So there are orange trees, and because Shiraz is the capital of Iranian orange, sweet lemons, that type of thing. It's fantastic. Anything from Shiraz tastes fantastic. Largely, I think, because of the sunlight. So um, this is another major city. You have a lot of important city. Bandar Abbas on the southern shores, a major port. You have Khorramshahr, which was a city that was taken over during the war, and then Iranians took back, and they cared a lot for. You have Rasht in the north, which is a city. Rasht is in Gilan. Gilan is the place where they are very proud that they were never conquered by Arabs or Mongols, or even Turks. I think they only got conquered by Safavids at the end. So it's always kept a bit of a unique character and unique feel of it. In fact, the Gilanis come out and end up, conquering the caliphate. But so these are the, major cities, but there are numerous more.